Greetings, welcome back to my channel. Trust everyone has been well in this cold weather. Family, I have a story I want to discuss coming to you from Arizona, in which the mother of NBC contributor Savannah Guthrie has been missing for now 10 days. But family, this has been a strange situation since the beginning. It's been covered by Nancy Grace, who said she's a friend of the family. But apparently, Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie, went missing about 10 days ago, and it was discovered that her cane, which she uses to move around, was still in the home. Her medication, which she requires for her survival, was still inside the home. It's also being reported that, as an 84-year-old woman, she is wearing a pacemaker, and it is believed that she needs to be near her device, actually a monitor, in order to gauge whether or not her heart rate and other physical indicators can be read, right? So she's not near her monitor for her pacemaker. Her medication is still inside the home, and also her cane, which she needs for her mobility, is still inside the home. Now, the strangest thing about this matter, in my opinion, is that as an 84-year-old grandmother with three adult children, that she is actually home alone. There's no security guard. There was no maid or butler or whatever the case may be. She was just at home as an elderly woman, basically living by herself. Right now, I think that that is very odd for a wealthy woman with three presumably wealthy children would actually be home alone, um, running the risk of being injured and not actually having somebody there to actually assist her, right? When I looked at the aerial view of the community, I also recognized that she's living in a community that doesn't have any perimeter walls or perimeter fences separating the properties, right? And this means that people can enter a property at any time from any direction, right? Now, we've seen some of the crime scene photos, and notably, one of the photos shows some blood spatter actually at the entrance of the door. There's a small amount of blood, a few droplets that appear to be mixed in with some debris that is next to the door, right? Now, apparently, these kidnappers actually requested $6 million in Bitcoin to be transferred to an untraceable account. It is unknown at this time whether or not the Bitcoin was transferred to the account. I've seen one news report stating that they would have paid the ransom a few days ago, and there are other reports basically saying that they did not pay the funds, but they are willing to pay the funds. Another strange detail about this disappearance is the fact that the kidnappers or the abductors actually gave them two deadlines. Right? It's very uncommon to hear uh, a ransom note actually giving a person two different dates to pay the money. Apparently, last week Friday, was the first deadline, but they gave them, I guess, an extension until Monday, which was yesterday. And both of these dates passed, and there's no indication that Nancy Guthrie is alive. Okay, they haven't sent any footage. It was also pointed out by a crime scene analyst that they didn't even send um, any personal belongings. They didn't send any hair, like a lock of hair, which could have given them some indication that they indeed still had her mother and that she was still in one piece. The thing is, many persons wondered if the pacemaker could be tracked, but I've been receiving some reports that this pacemaker, the one that she was wearing, did not have some kind of GPS or tracker on it, right? Now, family, we've all watched too many crime dramas, we've watched too many crime shows on YouTube to expect a good outcome in this situation. She's 84 years old. She requires a particular medication to be taken, presumably on a daily basis. Um, this medication was left behind in the home, and after 10 days, undoubtedly she would have had some kind of medical complication that would require her to get either care from a physician or to have her prescription for this particular drug renewed. I happen to think that this seems to be an inside job. There's no way that a person can go missing in this manner in a community of other affluent persons who supposedly had cameras and not have any trace of their whereabouts. Apparently, on the date in question, the garage door opened up at 9:48 and the garage door closed at 9:50, right? There's also another indicator from her pacemaker's monitor which indicates that at 2 o'clock in the morning there was a sudden spike in her heart rate. All right, persons are positing that this was the time when she possibly could have been accosted. It had to have occurred in the home because the monitor is not able to read the pacemaker if she's not within a close proximity, right? I've been looking at some of the testimonials and the pleas made by her children, and it seems to me that these persons don't have the kind of emotional response that you would expect from a person whose mother just went missing. And so it stands to reason that there's more to this story than what we've been told. You know, it appears to me that there could be some issue regarding her will, her last will and testament, because there are three children, and it's entirely possible that she may have made a will, and this will may not have left a part of the proceeds or her um, assets to one of the children. She has two daughters and one son. And looking at this situation, I think I've seen too many kinds of situations like this in the press to think that foul play should be taken off the table. As Nancy Grace said, why don't they take a polygraph to eliminate themselves as suspects? You know, it would seem to me that the children would want to, exonerate themselves and make sure that there's no suspicion about whether or not they were involved. But nevertheless, two deadlines have passed, and no sign of Nancy Guthrie has been made since this point. I don't know about her financial position, but I've heard her described as a crypto billionaire. I'm not sure if this is the case. I don't know if one of her children is the crypto billionaire, but it's possible that she could indeed be the person they were referring to. But if she's a crypto billionaire and these persons have an untraceable account that money can be transferred to in Bitcoin, why did they ask for $6 million? Why didn't they ask for $60 million? You know, it seems to me that this woman is being used as a pawn for some grander scheme. Perhaps one of the siblings is now trying to make an effort to hasten the death of their mother so that they can receive the proceeds. Um, I don't want to speculate. I know persons are going through grief at this moment or should be going through some grief, knowing that their mother is nowhere to be found. But we can't rule out the possibility that one of the children is somehow involved in this situation. Because who else would know that there's no security cameras functioning at the home? Who else would know that there's no CCTV cameras in the area and that they would be able to enter this home with very little difficulty? It's said that she also has gardeners and other persons who may come at the home to do work. But why would her children have an 84-year-old woman living alone without anyone to assist her, especially knowing that she has mobility issues, knowing that she needs medication and it has to be taken daily for her survival? Only somebody who is very close would be able to orchestrate a situation like this, right? But family, thoughts and prayers go to Savannah Guthrie, her siblings, and their family as they go through this difficult situation. But before I close this video, in one of her videos, Savannah Guthrie read a prepared statement, and she basically said that this is very valuable to us, right? She didn't say that we love our mother, we care about her, and we want to see her again in one piece. She said that this is very valuable to us. Um, could this be a Freudian slip? Um, each of the siblings appear to be reading prepared speeches that don't seem to have very emotional content. They all seem very calm, very collected, as if the assumption is that she would have already passed on. Many families, despite their appearances, have internal issues, and it's possible that they could have been having some kind of family drama that was unbeknownst to the public, and this could be the way that they decided to resolve this issue, you know. But I find it very hard to believe that none of the family members know what is going on, that none of the family members would have checked on her or had somebody in position to check on her on a consistent basis. In fact, it's being reported that the cameras that were in the home didn't have a subscription for extended recording. So you mean to tell me that a so-called crypto billionaire with three adult children, one of whom is a famous television personality, didn't pay for an extended recording to be included in their security footage, why wouldn't they want an extended recording to ensure that their mother's home is being surveilled on a consistent basis? Many questions are left unanswered, and until the children take a polygraph, we will be unable to rule them out as potential suspects. Okay, family. But let me know your thoughts about this situation in the comments below. One love.